everybody, I'm Jeff Teague. Welcome to Toyota Car Care Talk. This is the show where we answer your questions about Toyota repair and service and maintenance. And who better to start this off with a bang than my friend Ali.
Nice to be here, Jeff.
Very cool. Ali has a wealth of experience, especially with Toyota hybrids. Toyota hybrid, you name it, Ali probably has the answer. So let's get our first viewer question here. They want to know what Tacoma engine is more reliable and lasts longer, the 4-cylinder or the V6? What do you have to say about that?
Both of the engines in Tacomas are fantastic engines.
Okay.
It depends what you want to use them for. If you want to have a light use, just have a pick up small stuff and carry them. The 4-cylinders are good. Most Toyota technicians love the 6-cylinder. And on a 6-cylinder, if you're towing stuff, if you get a 4-wheel drive, it's a lot better engine to have. We have seen minor issues with the 6-cylinder, less with the 4-cylinder. Maintenance-wise, probably 4-cylinder Toyota is more reliable. It has less work. They are both reliable. 6-cylinder one is reliable and supplies power, but since it has the extra power, it has a couple of extra things that can go wrong with it, some minor oil leaks and things like that. But if you want to just know which one is reliable, they're both fantastic engines.
Right. So you probably recommend if, let's say, a family member or a friend was searching for a used Tacoma and they had to choose between a 4 and a 6, you'd say?
The magic answer to that is I drive a 6-cylinder one because I use a lot of scrappy metal, and I put a lot of load on my Tacoma, and I have a 6-cylinder one. And most of us Toyota techs that have trucks, we have a 6-cylinder one.
Okay, excellent. Great answer. I love it. We got a winner. And Ali, I'm sure you've got some personal favorites based on either your repair experience or just based on personal preference. In your opinion, what are the most reliable used Toyota models to buy?
One of the most reliable ones we have is the older Priuses. They
Really?
last forever. Almost everything was covered by Toyota with them. Extended warranty after extended warranty from Toyota. Then, other than that, the Tacoma 6-cylinder, which I own one and I love, and it works really nice.
See, you're biased. You want Toyota Tacoma.
Well, one of our cars that's famous for being boring, thank God, is Camry. About 2005 Camry will run forever, will cost almost nothing in maintenance, and will not die. So if you just want a driving car and not a pickup and not a hybrid, probably your best choice would be an older Camry.
Excellent. Thanks for the thoughts. This next question is about traction control. You know that little button that turns your traction control on, traction control off? This person would like to know, when having traction control on, does it use more gasoline than if you have the traction off?
To answer that, the way traction control works, there is a yaw rate sensor in the middle of the car, just like it is in an airplane. It looks how the car is directed, leaning right, if it's dragging to one side or the other, and it tries to correct for that with the engine power and the brakes individually to each wheel. If you're not driving too fast, if you're not taking the corners too fast, traction control is not even used. It's only used when the car thinks that it needs to correct for your driving, so it tries to make the car go in the direction that is required. It looks at the steering angle sensor, sees where you're intending to go. It looks at the yaw rate sensor inside the car and tries to make sure the two will jive with each other. As a normal rule, on a normal driving, you're not even going to be using traction control.
Okay.
So it doesn't make any difference. It's just safer in case of an emergency, in case you have to stop really fast or take a corner not to get in an accident, then traction control will kick in. Also, we've had people asking us, whenever traction control kicks in, you hear all sort of crazy sounds in the car because there's a motor that runs the brakes and individual brakes that apply, and they sound kind of funny, but that's the car that's trying to get you straight, and that's the normal stuff.
All right, Ali, I'm going to try to field a question myself. Can you believe it? Look, Ma, no net. Here we go. It says, Jeff, can you please ask him, which means Ali, what he thinks is going on with my MPG? I purchased a 21 RAV4 hybrid in October. We've only driven it 400 miles, mostly city to date, and the MPG seems way off. I reset it a few times, and it still only averages 29 to 31 or maybe 32. What I'm going to say about that one is the RAV4 hybrid, typically you can get an average of about 40, but that's also EPA rated under ideal conditions. Several factors go into gas mileage, and Ali, I'm sure he's waiting to jump in here and go boom.
No, go for it.
All right. But I think the biggest factor in miles per gallon, and I'm a victim here, is a heavy accelerator pedal and driving habits. I know I'm going to get worse than what's posted automatically because when I start up from a stop, like at a traffic light or a stop sign, I don't race anybody, but I know it's a heavy gas pedal, so I can pick up speed quicker. I don't stop quickly and slowly enough, so I think a lot of that has to do with driving style. Also, where you drive it, if you drive in a lot of hills, that could affect it, perhaps traffic or colder temperatures. Now, this didn't say anything about colder temperatures, and I certainly don't want to take the blame off the car itself, but I do think that if you drove it consistently, just like we'll use the term of grandma and grandpa to church or to the store versus a younger person or a 50-year-old going, you could see wide varieties of gas mileage. What do you think could play a part in this low gas mileage?
You covered basically all of it. It depends also the time of traffic. That if they go to work at a certain time, that's heavy traffic.
Like rush hour?
Yes, if they go rush hour to work and to home, beginning and end of the day. It's also gas formulas. They change from winter to summer. October is about the right time for that to change.
Mm-hmm.
There's many, many different things. And usually that car is not going to be broke. All the computers, all the systems going to be healthy. That car is representing your driving habit, the traffic habit, and the gasoline quality in your area.
That makes sense. And if it's an older car, clearly it wouldn't apply to a 21 or a 22. But if it's an older car, you could look at other factors like tires and something else?
Yes, absolutely. On older cars, number one fuel consumption issues, tire pressure.
Really?
And then alignment. Anything to resist the car from rolling freely will cost extra gas.
Excellent. So I would guess you would imagine, especially in wintertime, you'd recommend make sure they have an alignment, make sure their tires are the approved ratings for the weather conditions and the season coming up. And probably they'd also want to keep their cargo light. For example, somebody who keeps
Yes.
bags of salt maybe in their back, that would also provide more resistance and less fuel efficiency.
And most of our cars have low tire pressure light now.
Yes.
When you see that light, you don't necessarily need to come to a dealer. Go to a gas station, put a buck in the machine, check your tire pressures. That's what the owner's manual says to do. And that's probably the number one cause of fuel consumption.
Right. And then also while they're doing that too, they should also just kind of give a visual inspection, make sure there's no nail or staple in there too, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. But more than likely, if it's a wintertime and it's early in the morning, you might expect, science tells us, air contracts.
Yeah, the way we tell it, when the customer comes in with a low tire pressure light, we always adjust all the tires. However, is all of them 29 and one of them sitting at 16 psi, we know there is an issue with the one with the 16 psi, so we look for a nail in it.
Makes sense. This next one, I guess this person's trying to preserve their hybrid battery life. They want to know if there's any relation between longer hybrid battery life with the majority being highway miles rather than strictly city driving. I don't know if this has been asked and couldn't find anything while researching. So will the hybrid battery last longer based on if you do more or majority of highway road trips, let's say, versus city commutes?
The way the hybrid is designed is at a stop, nothing is powered, engine is not powered, the electric motors are not running. You put your foot on the accelerator to get the car going, only the electric motor kicks in from a stop. You pick up the speed, as you pick up the speed, the gasoline engine will join. When you go at highway speed and you're really not accelerating that fast, it could be just the gasoline engine. if it's required to be accelerating really fast, the electric motor will kick in. So if you're doing a highway conditions, mostly the gasoline engine doing all the job.
True.
So you want to know not to use the battery at highway speed, you save the battery the longest. But the beauty of it is, drive the car like you drive any other car. All the engineering has gone in it to make everything last as long as they should. And if you're so concerned about extending the life on a battery, you're losing the joy in the ride.
This is a question about brakes and hybrid. How do you properly run in the brakes in a Toyota hybrid? How do I know if the hydraulic brakes are even engaged since MG2 does much of the braking? I haven't been able to find anything out about it.
Good question. May be a little tricky. Whenever you use the brakes, at all the times, the hydraulic brakes, the ones that work with the pads on the rotors, work all the time. However, the engine will turn into a generator, creates power from the rolling force, and puts it into the battery.
Right?
Since it does that, the pads will last a lot longer, because even though the pads are trying to stop the car, at every time you apply the brakes, you put in hydraulic brakes to the pads. No question about it, every time. However, the engine helps it. And if the conditions are right, the engine will put the power back into the battery. If the battery is full, can't take no more, the engine doesn't need to do that. So if you want to know how long it'll last, usually with my experience with the Prius, with the Highlanders, if you're not driving crazy, the brake pads should last 100,000 miles. If they're done right after the service, they should last another 100,000 miles after service.
That's really cool. I remember seeing in the owner's manual too, it said to try not to do any fast braking for the first 200 or so miles after you buy a vehicle. Is that still the case or not really as much?
Not really as much. They used to also say don't drive over a certain mileage and don't really drive the car fast. They're made so perfectly these days that you can just get in them and go. However, if you're an old-timer like me, you're probably going to be driving nice for the first 500 miles.
Yeah, it's a special gift. You want to celebrate it. You want to treat it nice.
Yes, you do.
Everyone, thank you so much for watching. Also, Ali, thanks for your insight and your knowledge. Hopefully everybody appreciates it. If you have a question, you can leave it in the comment section below, and we'll get to that in a future episode. So thanks again, Ali.
You're welcome. Bye.
Goodbye.